please help me bring to the stage William Henry, Thug Passion, the Thrill Will Waller.
What y'all think?
There we go. Will Waller in reveal.
How amazing to be here in front of all of you. I couldn't be more thrilled to have the chance to come into fraternity with so many other great contributors to the game and people who've had great playing careers as well. It's just I never expected that I would feel the way that I feel now, having thought about it in the past and considering what the Hall of Fame was and coming to a lot of events like this. I never knew that it would overtake me with emotion the way that it did. So I'm really, really grateful for that. And a couple thoughts before I get started on myself and my journey. Dave, I'm so glad that Lisa convinced you for us to play that video, because it really sums up, I think, what the sport means to a lot of us and for people who give back to the game. It's a great reminder of why we do what we do. And Matt asked me on the red carpet session a little while ago, he asked me, when I was younger, which was quite some time ago, unfortunately, he asked me, who was that individual I was looking up to? And Dave was on the 2000 national team, and I had an opportunity to spend a lot of time, and I hadn't been in a chair for a really long time. But I had the chance to spend time around Dave and hear others talk about Dave, and just the career that he had was incredible. But to see Dave still going strong off the court as well, his impact off the court has been just as great as the many sports and the many gold medals across sports. So Dave, we appreciate you hanging in there with the NWBA, appreciate the class and dignity that you've done with this event, along with many other members of the Hall of Fame committee, and thanks to the board for supporting you and your vision for everything you've done. So thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate it. Hold on, guys. This thing's like blinging in my eye right now. I can barely see my paper. Where's that Matt's jacket? I don't know. Oh, have mercy. I feel extra special to be here tonight from the perspective of it being the 50th anniversary of the NWBA Hall of Fame. The fact that the NWBA is 74 years strong as an organization. And I know we played a video earlier that Matt Bushy was doing the voiceover on, but really feel so humbled and proud to participate in an event like this and feel the spirit of Dr. Nugent here with us. Dr. Nugent was a visionary who understood that sport was just a vehicle to prove to society all of what we can do. So for some of you youngsters who are out here in the crowd, number one, I'm thrilled that you're here. Number two, go YouTube it, do a little more research on Dr. Nugent. There's a lot of great content out there on him. But speaking of spirit, I'm glad Frank's getting a lot of pub in here too. Frank was the assistant coach of my first national team, and he also was a Chicagoan. And talk about banter. I mean, he and I, we have great banter, but Frank and I had a lot of great banter as well. And he was really passionate about this Hall of Fame, passionate about the sport as well. And when I went into a leadership role with the NWBA formally, I was really grateful that he was one individual who spent time with me every Thursday night for an hour, giving me his point of view on what the organization, where it had been, where it is, where it needed to go. And so I'm humbled to have Frank, him being honored and recognized in here as well. He's done great things for the organization. Now, Dave, that doesn't take away from the fact that he'd still be asking you whether or not you're getting $1 million a year from the NBA or Naismith Hall of Fame in order to, continue to preserve the sport, or if you're going back to 1949 and getting all the stats. But, he put pressure on us. Some of the things might have seemed unrealistic, but his spirit is here in general.
Amen.
So Frank was just one coach that I had that I probably had differences of opinion with. it's fair to say that I pretty much disagreed with most of them. And I'd just like to say to all of those coaches, I'm sorry for being such a pain in the ass for my entire playing career. I know that I was very vocal and outspoken as a player, but I hope that, you know, those coaches as well as my teammates understood that that vocal nature and that opinionated self was in order to try to bring, you know, a better result forward for the team. And so I appreciate those coaches being really patient with me. It's funny, I had one of my teammates say to me, Will, don't be passive aggressive. And I was like, Steve, I'm aggressive aggressive. That's not passive aggressive, dude. So I didn't mean to leave names in there. Sorry, Steve. But again, like I think one of the things as you think about your own playing career, you think about being a successful professional in whatever it is that you do, being comfortable being direct with your colleagues and your teammates is super important. So as I think about one of the themes that has helped me be successful in different aspects of my life, I think being a direct communicator would be one of them. I was pleased, Janie, and humbled that you would say that I was approachable, and so I'm glad that you felt that way. A couple of coaches that I do want to just kind of call out. After Brad Hedrick recruited me to Illinois, Mike Frogley came very shortly after that. And I would never have had the level of success that I had in the sport if he didn't truly invest in elevating my basketball IQ. So all of us have, you know, physical attributes and different things that we do really well. But none of those the physical attributes alone aren't going to really optimize the game. And there's a lot of people here who have great basketball IQ, but for me, one of the individuals who brought that about in me the most is Mike Frogley, and I want to recognize him for that. Another individual who I spent a lot of time with, more in a community-based setting, was Tim Fox. And, you know, as much as I could rattle off a lot of accolades that I had on the national team and whatnot as part of great teams, one of my most proud sort of accomplishments is having an opportunity to participate in a community-based program for an extended period of time. And that was with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the coach of that team was Tim Fox. And I don't know if he accomplished what he set out to do, but he always worked on trying to help me become a more patient individual, not just with competing with other individuals on the court, but also being patient and trying to drive change and have an impact in the community, which I think we did a really good job of. Most of the people who you're going to have a chance to hear from who are on the competitor side are going to probably call out hard work as an important attribute. You know, everyone has to be willing to kind of go above and beyond and almost let the sport be an obsession for them. But at the end of the day, I think, you know, for me, when I think about hard work, I think about where does that come from in me personally. And I think a lot of it kind of goes back to my pre-wheelchair basketball days. And one of the phrases that stands out to me is that, you know, I had an instinct to hustle that was provided by the struggle. And, you know, all of us have our own version of a struggle. Everyone has a story. But for me, a lot of that has to do with, you know, growing up as a poor kid and unfortunately making a lot of the bad choices that I made where my disability journey started. So just prior to being in a chair, ended up joining a gang, selling drugs, and doing a lot of poor things. And shortly after that, I ended up getting shot. That's why I'm a wheelchair user today, and that happened nearly 31 years ago. And unfortunately, I didn't have the pivot that a lot of other people had, you know, that found sport quickly or that just, you know, found a way to adjust. You know, it became all-consuming for me in a very negative way, and had a pretty deep depression for a couple of years. So my body was stuck in extension for a period of time because I was feeling sorry for myself, and then I was coping with the pain of disability in many other ways, and that ultimately was what I describe as a struggle. So eventually I had a couple of people who were angels in my life who played a really profound role in helping me come to the sport and eventually find my potential in the sport. The first was my rehabilitation doctor. Her name is Dr. Michelle Gittler out of Schwab Hospital in Chicago. And And after I was already sort of in my chair and dealing with, my disability in all the wrong ways, I had a run-in with the law, and she really kind of laid into me and told me that I was really wasting an opportunity that I had. I was the only one in the rehab hospital who had achieved a high school education, and she challenged me and made me commit to giving junior college a try. And after going round and round and telling her I'm not a college guy and it wasn't really for me, she would not stop until I said yes. And ultimately she convinced me to give junior college a try. And at the same time, I found wheelchair basketball that same summer that Eric and I had a chance to meet in 1994. I'm really glad that he didn't bring a picture of that Cubs jersey that I was wearing that day. Man, that thing was brutal. It was. But I had a lot of the guys who were playing softball that tried to convince me to play wheelchair basketball. And I resisted because I didn't see the connection between the word wheelchair and sports. And I'm so glad that all of them didn't give up on me and continued to try to get me out there to play wheelchair basketball for that first time. And that first time I did, again, I don't know what I was wearing. I know I was in the worst everyday wheelchair of all time, and but it didn't matter what I was in. It didn't matter how well I played. It was the first time that I kind of felt normal again, with my disability and whatnot. And you fast forward a few months from there, and the next angel in my life is Brad Hedrick, who was at a tournament in December of 1994. I was playing on the Rehab Institute of Chicago team, and he came over and started to tell me about the University of Illinois and recruit me. And he'd heard my story, what led to my wheelchair, my background and all of that. And yet he still thought that there was potential inside of me that I didn't think that I had myself. And so Dr. Hedrick, worked the process with me in order to get me down to the University of Illinois. And that was like one of the most pivotal moments that I could point out in my own life, and two of the most important angels for me. So the good news is that the angels that came into my life who had no other connection to me prior to that, those angels were stronger than my demons. And I think about that often because, we all say it in different ways, and so many people in this room do give back in different ways. But I ask myself, how can I be an angel to other people to help them deal with their demons? Because of the role that the sport has played for me, I try to do that and give back to those individuals as well. So when I think about, the theme there is that how is it that these people had more confidence that I could do something that I didn't think that I could do? And ultimately, what are the different ways that manifested itself? It manifested itself in the obvious way as an athlete. I'm here being recognized, for my impact in the game. But it also impacted me sort of as a student as well. I never was going to be an individual growing up where I grew up who was going to go to the U of I and get a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. But because they had that belief that I could do those things, they helped me realize that potential existed. They also, eventually that would impact my professional career. So I've had a career working with awesome organizations, Honeywell, Whirlpool, Goodyear, and now I work for Otis Elevator. Also worked for the NWBA for a few great years. But getting an opportunity to take what you learn in sport and then go and apply it in a professional setting has been a huge testament to the potential that they ultimately saw back in me. And the way that I think about the professional impact, it's not just about the titles that I've been able to achieve in these organizations, the reach of supporting people around the globe and the role that I perform, but it's the relationships that you build. And I think about a couple of people who've been really supportive of my career, not just me individually, but of the game of wheelchair basketball. And those relationships continue to give to the NWBA either at a macro level or a micro level. And so I think about an individual named Joe Rucco, who was the head of HR at Goodyear when I worked there. He's been involved in the sport and supporting me in the sport since 2012 and continues to be a great supporter of the NWBA. And I think about individuals like Jim McKinnon, who's been a great supporter of some work that Paul Schulte does in creating camp opportunities for other individuals. So the impact of those angels has a compounding effect over a period of time, and it doesn't just impact your ability to go out and win a couple of world championship medals. But then I think about not just the angels that have come into my life, but I've created a few angels too. And so I'm a father of 3 kids, and the most important angels in my life are Sydney, Chase, and Calvin. And as I think about my most important role and the most important impact of, back in the day getting involved in the game and changing my life and the trajectory of my life, is that now I get the opportunity to break some generational curses and teach them the values and characteristics that they need in order to be successful. So for you guys watching back at home, I love you, and I can't wait to get home and see you. And then lastly, there's one more angel in my life. She's no longer here physically, but she's here with me every single day, and that's my mom. And I just want to say, Mama, your boy made it into the Hall of Fame. Thank you, guys.
Right on. All right. Will Waller, 2023 Class Hall of Fame. So proud. You guys move to the center. You both, get a pic with that. Yeah, do your thing, man.